What's up, everybody? Trade Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. Wanted to talk a little bit about the future of Arkansas Razorback sports. And by that, basketball, football, just kind of the state of the programs right now. Obviously, basketball team's 0-4, very disappointing. Football team had a bounce back, if you could call it a bounce back, with a 6-6 regular season, 7 wins overall with the bowl game after a 4-8 season. Basketball team obviously didn't go to the tournament last year, so there's been obviously a lot of people are disgruntled, disappointed. So we're going to talk a little bit about maybe what the future holds for the program. We'll get into some recruiting stuff for both basketball and football. We're going to bring Danny West on to talk about recruiting for football, Connor Goodson for the state of the basketball program, a little basketball recruiting also, and we'll get to it, maybe your questions as well. All that more on today's episode of Hawg Sports Live. There's like 85 different ways to watch and listen to the show. You can always listen to us on Apple Podcasts. Be sure to throw us a 5-star review if you haven't done so already. Just take a moment, let other people know what to expect with the show. It really helps boost our channel on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else you can think of to find your podcast. Also available on Facebook. Be sure to like the page, subscribe, whatever it is. Throw us a thumbs up, comment, all that good stuff. And, of course, our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and set it to where you're notified anytime we upload new videos. Hawg Sports is 30% off right now, HawgSports.com. I know you're thinking just like, wow, it's just, the athletic programs are just skyrocketing, and there's so many reasons to subscribe. But there is. It's still always entertaining, and we do our best at Hawg Sports to cover the team. Baseball season also right around the corner. Kevin Bohannon will have plenty of content from Dave Van Horn's season preview press conference today that you can check out at Hawg Sports. And we'll have Kevin on from time to time also to talk Razorback baseball when that gets going. All right, so I want to start off. We're going to have we'll have Danny next, and then we'll have Connor after that. But I wanted to start off just talking a little bit about the football roster right now, but we'll get into basketball more when Connor comes on. But, I've said this before, that the portal is super important for Arkansas just because of the proximity to talent for Arkansas. If you draw a circle, a 2-hour circle around Arkansas, the only 200,000 plus town is Tulsa, Oklahoma. If you did that around Auburn, Alabama, you'd have Tallahassee, you'd have Atlanta, you'd have Birmingham. I mean, you get the picture. So the transfer portal is a way to kind of level the playing field for Arkansas if it's fully embraced for football. And that's, if you can embrace NIL and transfer portal as an Arkansas fan, like that's, I know it's frustrating the way college football is right now. I think it's interesting, the unanimous vote among college coaches wanting to make it a 10-day transfer portal window, which I'm fully in support of. I know Danny West is, because December's about to kill Danny. But making it a 10-day window, you don't need 30 days to decide if you're going to enter the transfer portal or not. All right, you get to do it after the bowl games, and if it's a situation where you don't get to enroll for that next semester, then tough, you know what? You don't get to have it all. People think they get to have it all nowadays. It's very frustrating in society. Everybody thinks that they get to have it all. You don't sometimes. You don't get to have everything that you want. You can have a good life. You can have a good situation. You can have good opportunities, but you just don't get to have it all. And you shouldn't expect to have it all. So maybe this is an answer to some of the stuff, because they're not going to change the academic calendar for football. They're just not. That's the thing that gets in the way of football, is the academic calendar, trying to cram everything in December before that next semester. So maybe you just don't get to enroll early. Maybe that's the way it did. Maybe that would change a lot of things with the transfer portal. Arkansas has gotten good players from the spring portal also. They got Larry Worth. They got Stephen Dix, Rodney Hill. I mean, you can get good players that can make an impact with your team in that spring portal window, which would be eliminated under this. But, I'm just talking about, like, maybe you wouldn't have guys for that semester in a lot of cases. But Arkansas right now is at 89 scholarship players. The way they're able to do that is because they have 6 high school players that have not enrolled yet. Everyone else has enrolled. So as long as you are not over 85 at a given time, then you're okay. And that's an SEC rule. The NCAA rule is 105 now. That'll eventually change for the SEC. They'll go to 105 too. But for right now, they're at 85 for those who don't understand how that works. Last year, you had late portal exit R.J. Johnson, Dominic Johnson, Lorando Johnson, a lot of Johnsons, Paris Patterson, Andrew Chamblee, Jacoby Criswell, Isaiah Augusta, and Max Fletcher all hit the portal in the spring window. So you're going to see some more. It's not just like they're just not going to have any portal entries. And we saw some surprises late, obviously, but Anthony Switzer was another guy that they added late. Danny Saili was another guy. These guys are all contributors for Arkansas. But right now they're at 89 in the portal. And we'll talk to Danny a little bit about what's going on with recruiting here in just a moment. But we'll see more spring change in the spring. Now, I've said this before, and I never used to talk like this. I never used to say, well, this guy needs to probably think about hitting the transfer portal or something. Somebody would ask me a question, and I'd be like, I don't really want to talk about, if somebody would enter the portal. But you've got guys on this team that either need to move position or make a big jump or move along. Arkansas didn't bring in 5 wide receivers out of the transfer portal because they felt great about the 5 guys that are coming back. So like a guy like Bryce Stevens, it's time to put up or maybe look at moving to safety because safety numbers are down. There's a discrepancy, an imbalance, I should say, with the number of offensive players and defensive players. Like 46 offensive players, 39 defensive. That's an imbalance. It needs to be more like 41, 3 special teams players. So there's an imbalance there. They have 15 wide receivers. That's too many. But even guys that came in last year, Cross Johnson, Zach Taylor, some of those guys who you haven't heard of yet, they've got to make a move right now, in my opinion, or it's time to hit the road. As ruthless as that sounds, that is college football nowadays. And people think that players get all the power, and players get screwed. More good players get all the power, but average players, guys that haven't proven themselves, those are guys getting screwed right now. So it's not just super empowering for all the players. There's a lot of guys that get left out, getting left without college degrees, getting stuck in the transfer portal. But that's the truth of the matter here at wide receiver. Guys got to go. 15 wide receivers, they need to be at most 12, at most, and probably like 10 or 11. So that's the situation there. Defensive line, they need the numbers are right at defensive tackle. They've got like 9 guys. But, J.J. Hollingsworth played 3 games last year, and that wasn't like notable contribution. He played 0 the year before, 0 the year before that. Like, that's a kid from Arkansas. He's a good kid, makes good grades, I'm sure, good locker room guy, but he's not contributing. And you've got a situation where I see 3 defensive tackles that they can count on right now. Caleb James is another. Hollingsworth's going to be a redshirt junior next year and hasn't contributed. Caleb James will be a redshirt sophomore. So it's time for him to put up or shut up right now. It just is. It's not like it used to be where you could make a big impact or, in the locker room or by making good grades, being a teammate guy. It's just not like that anymore. Arkansas has good numbers at defensive tackle. They don't have good players. They have 3 players that contributed last year: Ian Jafar, Danny Saili, and Cam Ball. They've got to have another guy. They probably need 2, but they absolutely, without question, need a 4th defensive tackle who is a baller. Oh, they've got David Oak. So they need 5. They need a 5th guy. So David, is it David Oak or Daniel Oak? I may be saying that wrong, but the Abilene Christian guy. So that's 4, but you really need 5. Like to say you feel comfortable about defensive line, like feel good about it. 5, 4, bare minimum. So they've got some guys that got to put up or shut up. All right. We're going to go to Danny West now. Danny, we're coming to you here in just a second. I've kind of said my piece on all that stuff with roster building. Danny, you're live with us.
Hey, bud.
How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How's my mic?
Your mic sounds real good, actually.
Good. I think I got it right this time. Sorry about that.
Good. It's all right. So, Danny.
You trying to run everybody off or what's
I'm trying to run everybody off. Like, Danny, like used to be like somebody would call in drive time. He's like, hey, you think this guy might transfer? I'd be like, I don't really like to talk about that. But you have to now because it's so rampant. You'd just be ignoring the obvious. But yeah, like, I hate to say it, but I feel weird saying it, but it's true. Like Bryce Stevens, it's time to do something. Even Zach Taylor, Cross Johnson, guys that were freshmen last year. You have to make your move now because they brought in 5 wide receivers, not because they feel great about the situation that they're in right now. Am I wrong? Am I wrong, Danny?
No, I think it's a fair topic now, that people are being paid and whatnot. So I don't see any problem with it. Wide receivers, the biggest problem right
Too
now.
many.
It's just way too many. And, I'm sure it's going to sort itself out. It always does. Right.
Yeah.
And, I'm as curious as anybody because some people got to go. And I'm with on the quality of the defensive line is a concern to me. The interior part, even the edge rushers, man, you're sitting here looking at a lot of unprovens. It's kind of just hoping for the best that some of these 4-star guys start to show up as 4 stars this year. There's no guarantee that that's going to happen. Yeah,
Gavion Henderson, Quincy Rose, I think is a guy that's got a bright future.
I just saw somebody tweet out he needs help trying to find somebody to build a fence. If you can get
Who
that.
Does?
Quincy needs help building a fence today, evidently. Okay. See what you can do about it, Trey. You got the connections.
Yeah, I don't have any fence guys, but I've got an underground fence guy for a dog. That's about as good as I can do. Well, Danny, Arkansas, obviously, we're talking about the future of this program and stuff, and the schedule next year is brutal. It's always brutal. I don't want to hear like, "Oh, have you seen the schedule?" Yeah, I have. It's same as it usually is.
Yeah.
Notre Dame will be a challenge in Fayetteville, but as far as building this roster and getting Arkansas to a point where, they can win 8 games, because to me, Pittman needs to win 8 games, like regular season, to get this fan base to just feel like, okay, things are headed in the right direction. We're not just settling, Do you think they've done that in the transfer portal so far? I mean, I think they still got some work to do. I think you probably agree.
They still got work to do. We just talked about the defensive line. I'm concerned there. There's just so many positions you ask yourself, how much better did we get? And a lot of it is a wash probably. I will say this most recent tight end commitment that they picked up from Montana State, Rohan Jones. That's going to be different. I'm not saying Rohan Gaines, but Jones, 6'3", 240-ish. I think he's a pretty good pickup, Trey. It's easy. We talk about it all the time with a lot of these guys, but it's easy to get caught up on that school name and not be excited about it. But this is one that may not move the needle on paper, but there's a lot of those types in this class that, yeah, you're kind of banking on Arkansas being right here, but at least there's potential for that. But just on paper, no, I can't sit here and sell you on the idea that they went out and got so much better that it's automatically 8 wins next year. No, it's got to be proven, man. There's a lot of unprovens on this sheet right now.
Yeah, I mean, I look at what they did. Obviously, the quarterback situation, having Taylor Green back, you'd expect him to be better next year with Bobby Petrino. There's a lot of candidates at wide receiver. A lot of guys that play, fared very well on the group of 5 level. Courtney Crutchfield, you'd expect him to, like, if he's the number 43 ranked player in the country, this is the year to start show it. They'll have competition on the offensive line. I feel like they've got 8 guys on the offensive line who will battle for 5 spots, like legitimately. You feel that way, Danny? You kind of sit back in your seat. Yeah.
I just noticed we had the same pose going on. I didn't want you to be the only one looking like that. So, tight end, you mentioned you like the tight end. Jaden Platt was actually higher. It's the highest ranked. He's the highest ranked commitment you've got so far.
Yeah, well, he was higher ranked as a recruit than Luke Kaz was.
Mm-hmm.
You know that?
Yeah, he was.
So, and running back gives me a little pause because you're relying on Braylon Russell for so much. Mike Washington, I have not been able to find any highlight footage of him, just like full game tapes.
Yeah.
So I don't know a whole lot.
That's another position right there where I think people look at it and go, did we get better or as good as what we lost? Because R-Dub, I mean, he was coming on pretty good there. And, he had his moments where you're like, he's the second best running back we got.
Yeah. And you lost R-Dub and Jaquindon Jackson.
Jaquindon, obviously, yeah. But, that's one of the spots where I'm not sure that they've matched or exceeded at all. Tight end would be another. You ask about offensive line, I would say yes. I think But even then, we're using that word a lot, potential. You're hoping on Shaq McCroy.
Yeah.
I think Corey Robinson, you probably feel good about. He can play guard, tackle. Kind of opens up a little bit with Fernando, too. He's a guy that now they're talking about maybe can move inside if needed. So I'm sure they'll give that a look. But offensive line is probably a group I feel good about. Wide receiver would be up there. And then I think they probably did a sneaky good job in the secondary. I like what they've done.
Yeah, I agree with that. They've got some veterans back there. I agree.
A couple of corners, especially Jordan Young from Cincinnati and Kenai Walker.
Kenai Walker, that's how I've been saying Canny.
Yeah,
two senior cornerbacks. They also brought in Quintavious Scandrett
like
from Michigan. Yeah, big safety, 6'3", 200. They need more safeties, though, Danny.
Need more safety.
They've only got 6 right now on the roster. You need 18 defensive backs is a comfortable, good number.
What's the number at linebacker on your account? 9? 8 or 9?
Where's my scholarship distribution chart?
Either way, I'd probably take another backer.
I think the numbers are right at linebacker, but you'd like to see maybe bring in another
Antonio Greer type.
I don't know where I thought I had my scholarship distribution chart. Anthony Switzer type.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd take an Anthony Switzer again. A guy that could help you at nickel or at linebacker, could do a couple different things for you. Antonio Greer, as you mentioned, I'd take a guy like that. Just another veteran presence at linebacker. You got Dix and you've got Sorey. So those two guys, they feel good about where Bradley Shaw's headed. Do they feel that way about Wyatt Simmons? If they feel the same about Wyatt Simmons as they do Bradley Shaw, I'd say, okay, they're probably going to be in pretty good shape. But, I would like to see them add one more. They can get away with a 3 linebacker rotation, playing 2 guys and rotating in a third, but it's not ideal. Those guys eventually get a little too beat up.
I agree. Hey, quick note for this tight end commitment. I'm sure we would get to it, but Jeremiah Beck, JUCO commitment from Chaffee College out in California.
Originally from Canada.
No, that's Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones. 8 Montana State guys from Canada.
Yeah, he's from Montreal. This one here is from California. And hey, by the way, man, I know we got a lot of fans, Razorback fans out there, HawgSports subscribers. That's just looks like a movie, and I just hate it for them. So we're thinking of y'all, but out in LA.
Oh yeah.
But Jeremiah Beck, Trey, I wanted to let you know we're still waiting on clarification there. I think he might be a preferred walk-on, so we'll see. Okay. But that might impact your overall number there. So I'll get back with you shortly, hopefully.
Yeah, there's ways to work around that preferred walk-on stuff with.
Especially now.
Especially now.
You pay everybody.
You pay everybody for sure. Okay, Danny, they had Arkansas had a big junior day last weekend. Doesn't look like they're going to have anything this weekend, but maybe the weekend after. And the contact period for recruiting opens up tomorrow, Thursday. So coaches can start getting out on the road and visiting recruits.
Yeah, and you know what's cool now, man? We kind of skip over it. It's just that time of year where so much is happening. It's tough to keep up with all the changes. But now, Trey, they can go out and do in-person visits with juniors. Here in January, that's brand new, and it's relatively new, something that's just started. So,
is that just assistants, or can Pittman do that too?
Good question. I'm pretty sure Pitt can go right now. So let me verify on that. But we've already seen that. Coach Mateos was out and saw, Bryce Gilmore, big time 4-star offensive lineman, last week from down in Prosper, Texas, as well as Zayden Crimpin. Both of those guys, 2026 4-stars. So be on the lookout for that in the next couple of days. I am surprised that they're not having a junior day again this weekend. You brought up the one from last week. Quite a few offers went out, maybe a handful. Probably the most notable was 2026 linebacker in Rogers, Arkansas, Braxton Lindsey. That's, from what I know, is no relation to the Lindsey family there in Northwest Arkansas, but man, his stock is rising. He's got Oklahoma State, TCU, Stanford, Utah, Minnesota, Baylor, and a bunch of others, Michigan State, Duke, BYU. So he's 6'3", 220, came back to campus and got his offer. So that's number 11 now, Trey, inside the state, and we're only January 15th. So that's pretty good 2026 crew piling up there.
Danny, anything else to add you want to chime in on before we move along?
And be thinking and hoping for that 10-day portal window in January.
Yeah, I'm praying for you, man.
About it. But
Danny will hit me up every once in a while. I was like, man, I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
I don't know if my life.
It's tough. So yeah, be praying for that. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, you don't like the December 25th commitments?
It'd be nice to spend a Christmas with my kids. Yeah. Instead of right.
I think about every time I see some kid announce like I'm making my decision on July 4th. I'm like, Danny.
Yeah. You get used to it.
Christmas Day. Or what about the I'm going to make my decision at midnight.
Oh, man. I better get off here. I'll start cussing on your show here, Trey.
Yeah. All right, brother. Thanks
you,
for joining us, Danny. All right, everybody. That's Danny West. Again, follow Danny at Danny West 24/7 on X. And, of course, go to HawgSports.com. Most of his content is VIP, so do need a VIP subscription to sign up at HawgSports.com, which, by the way, is 30% off right now. So a great deal at HawgSports, the #1 independent source on Arkansas sports and recruiting. I also want to tell you about our friends at Ozarks Go right before we hop over to Connor Goodson. Ozarks Go, multi-tiered offerings of internet service. I use the multi-gig. There's also gigabit, and I'm sure several others. I think gigabit's probably fine for most families. If you use a ton of internet, you might want the multi-gig, but it hums. You're never going to have to worry about like bandwidth or anything like that. We got all our devices on it, streaming the show with Ozarks Go. You can reach out to them at 479-684-4900 or go to ozarksgo.net/hawg, HAWG. If you use the promo code BIDDY1, you can get a free month if you're a first-time subscriber. Local company, so when you call them, you're going to talk to somebody who knows, hey, are you available north of the tunnel? Are you available in Oklahoma? Different areas and stuff. They're going to know what you're talking about because you're not going to get shipped off some call center like that. You're going to talk to local people. So ozarksgo.net/hawg, HAWG. Go check out our friends over at Ozarks Go. I've been a user of theirs for 3.5 years, even before they became a sponsor of the show, and have been very pleased. I've never unplugged and replugged my modem router. Never once. Never done it. People say all the time, well, you reboot, unplug, replug. I've never had to do it. Just have working internet. So as we should in 2025, but not always, promise to you. All right, I want to go over to Connor Goodson. For those you don't know about Connor, you can follow him at Connor Goodson. He just had a birthday. Connor,
what's up, Trey?
Not much. Just telling everybody about, we're talking about the future of the athletic programs right now. We just talked about, Razorback football and, where things are headed, what needs to happen with the transfer portal. And we'll talk a little bit about basketball. Obviously, we can start off with the status of the team right now. Let's talk current and then we'll go future.
Do we have to? I might have to remove myself and go throw up in the bathroom. If
I know.
It's been so disappointing. Earlier this morning watching some of the first half back. But
let me ask you this, Connor. Why did I think that Nelly Davis was going to be the best player on the team, and why did I feel like he was the worst player on the floor last night?
Well, Trey, if you really want to know, it's my fault for hyping him up so much. It's our fault for saying that he was so good, and saying that this team was going to accomplish, reach all these different heights and stuff. I mean, if that's what it really boils down to. But
it's you.
Yeah, it always comes back to me. But no, Nelly Davis, I've read everything that everyone's saying. I mean, it is just so. It's unexplainable almost how bad he has been and just how uncomfortable he's looked. Sometimes it looks like he's not even on planet Earth. Like he's just in his own little world on the court. And then that results in, a dribbling off his way.
Yeah. When would be the best time to dribble the ball off my knee?
Crucial when you have a chance to make it a one possession game, late in the late stages, that would be the perfect time,
Yeah.
It's just little things like that. And then it's not so much that the team is like talent wise is bad. They're just not playing for one another, and they just don't look confident at all. They're not I go back to the Florida game, which to Arkansas's credit, this was better last night. But to the Florida game, like you look at the first half of that game, Arkansas's making shots that they jump out to that big lead. Florida's kind of on their heels. You don't see guys on the bench like rah-rah, building, encouraging people up. And Cal called it out in the post game, but like you just haven't seen that from this group. It's a bunch of like more professional guys that are, and you look over at Florida, their guys are struggling and they're still over there. They look like a team that's together. They're playing for one another. They're making hustle plays. Guys are trying to figure out how to really affect the game without, having to make a shot. And Arkansas's lacked that. Guys, if Boogie Fland, if DJ Wagner, if they can't make shots, what else can you do? Not much. Same with Nelly Davis. What else can you do? Not much if your shots aren't falling, and that's where this Arkansas team struggles. I mean, that's just one thing of a growing laundry list of things that just with this team you can see are obviously just something's not right. Some of it is I have no idea what their identity is on offense. I have no idea what they're trying to accomplish. Sometimes it's just stretches where they just look lost, incompetent. It looks like a team that hasn't ran a baseline out of bounds play since freaking Nom almost. It looks like. I mean, it's inexcusable. And yeah, there's the excuse they haven't played much together. They haven't scrimmaged much together, but you can't hide behind that in January. Like it boils down to like, are your guys prepared to go out and play? And Arkansas just hasn't been these last 4 games. That's just what it boils down to. And it's so disappointing. And yeah, it's 4 games into the SEC play. It's only January. You still have 14 games in front of you. But last night was kind of like one of those first few final nails in your coffin, because you cannot be, there's no room for error anymore. Like Arkansas has to get to, I think, 7 or 8 wins if they even hope to be in the conversation of being on the bubble. But the team we've seen these past 4 games, that is not a team that I want anywhere near the NCAA tournament. I don't know about you. I don't know about the guys, other people listening. That's not a team that I want to watch, in an 8-9 matchup or a 10-7 matchup in the NCAA tournament. I would just rather, pack it in, because it's just not fun. It's not pleasing to watch, and it's not fun to cover either.
Well, I hate bagging on a Razorback player so much, but I get so frustrated every time I see Nelly step on the floor now. And part of it's because I expected him to be the guy on this team, the guy that leads them. Yeah. And he has been, like the savvy, sneaky veteran, the guy that does the pump fake and you fly past him and he makes an easy layup, that kind of guy. And he has been the exact opposite of all of that. Extremely disappointed.
It was frustrating because he looked like he was like maybe turning a corner in the first half of like the last 2 or the
he just looked slow to me. And
yeah, but he had those 2 threes, and then he had that really good play where he got the ball at the top of the key, kind of drove, and then there was like a give and go with him in Brazil, and then he found Brazil on another look that was really good, and he was like, you can kind of see, okay, this is flashes. There's flashes of a good player in there somewhere. Yeah. And then the second half, it's just like the Monstars took his power at halftime or something, and he looks like a guy who hasn't played high-level basketball in a long time, and you're just like, how did we get here? And I mean, everyone has – I mean, it is frustrating. It's weird because there's no, like, you can't really point to one thing. Sure, there's maybe his role a little bit. Maybe that's a wrist injury. But, like, at the end of the day, Nelly just has to go out and play basketball and be better, and he just hasn't. And that's what it boils down to. He just has not been playing to the level that Arkansas has needed from him. And I love what Rick Barnes said, Tennessee head coach, about Chaz Lanier. There was one play in the second half in their game against Texas. Chaz Lanier doesn't shoot the ball. It was like a drawn-up half-court play, and they run their motion, and he passes up an open shot, and Rick Barnes pulls him. And then in postgame, he said, yeah, we paid you to come and make shots and shoot the basketball. If you're not going to shoot it, you're going to sit by me over here on the bench, and you're going to figure out if you want to do what we paid you to come here to do. And I love that. And I wish that more coaches would kind of take that approach, because it's a new era and it's a different era, and there needs to be a little bit of accountability when players aren't playing up to their standards. But sorry to get off on that tangent, but
you're absolutely right. So the way things have gone so far, 76-52 loss at number 1 Tennessee. Okay, number 1 ranked team. Then coming at home, losing to Ole Miss, 73-66. Ole Miss a better basketball program than Arkansas now, which is absurd. Florida, I can remember Florida before Billy Donovan. Florida wasn't nothing. They weren't nothing. And now, Florida's obviously got a good program, but they come to Bud Walton Arena, win 71-63. And then you go at Baton Rouge, at LSU. I thought Arkansas looked like a better team personnel-wise than LSU, and they still lost 78-74. They took Nelly out of the game, made a little run, come back, put him back in, and, here we are. Too many missed layups at the end. Boogie got hot there, hit a little streak, and then he kept missing layups, and Arkansas couldn't get a tip in to save their lives. Let's move on. The show is about the future. January 18th, Saturday. Happy birthday, Suzanne, on that day. 5 o'clock, Columbia, Missouri, which just beat Florida. I mean, looking at Missouri right now. Missouri's 3-1 in SEC play, 14-3 overall. They have some common opponents with Arkansas, obviously. They didn't play Illinois bad at all. They let's see, where is it? Illinois. They lost 80-77 to Illinois. Illinois beat the pants off Arkansas. They lost to Auburn. That's their one SEC loss. Auburn's obviously very good, number 2 ranked team. They beat LSU 83-67. That was in Columbia, but they beat LSU pretty handily. Beat Vanderbilt in Columbia, and then yesterday went to Gainesville and beat number 5 Florida 83-82.
They've kind of done what I expected Arkansas to do, where you knock off like a Kansas or Illinois, you knock off one of those quad 1 marquee opponents, and then you come out, you struggle against like the cream of the crop, like the Auburns of the world. But they've taken care of business against, like you said, LSU, Vanderbilt. They've taken care of business on the road at Florida and picked up a really huge win that they can kind of hang their hat on in March when it comes to like seeding. If they do, hit a rough patch here, they have a stretch where they play 4 straight top 25 games. So if they hit a rough patch there, they can still hang their hat on that Florida win. Arkansas, on the opposite side of that, their resume is putrid. Like I said, this is a team that has so much work to do if they want to even be in the conversation of getting to March Madness. And it's just not what I predicted. Missouri didn't win a single SEC game last year. And this is another point, like, yeah, it's year 1, but a team like Missouri goes from not being able to win an SEC game to knocking off the number 1 team in the country and then the number 5 team in the country on the road in the span of like a month. And they did that in that turnaround in 1 year. Like it's different where you don't have to give, like, coaches can completely flip a switch and change their culture of the locker room. They can completely revamp the roster. They can get rid of all the bad eggs from one season to the next and bring in, culture guys that are going to be better fits and things like that. So yeah, it's year 1. Yeah, there's some things that I'm sure Cal's getting used to. I'm sure he's still having to be escorted to certain buildings on campus that he's not familiar with. But other than that, like, everyone in the country is dealing with it. Everyone in the country, all these big name programs, they have new rosters too. They're getting used to new guys too. They're all trying to meld and gel together. This Missouri team's kind of in the same boat. And when you're looking at those teams, the Missouris, the Ole Misses, the teams that and the programs that have generally either been below Arkansas or on the same level, they're way ahead of you right now in your 2 biggest sports, in football and basketball. And that's the frustrating part. And it's like, that this is the future of the Razorbacks. And I can't blame you if you look in the future and you don't see much hope, because it's just been a while since you've had hope. And it feels like it's just year after year, you're getting disappointed. And even though it's been, we're 2 years removed from a Sweet 16 run for Eric Musselman's crew, it still just feels like, this Arkansas program is heading in the wrong direction. But to Calipari's point, this is the cycle. You start to struggle in the season, and then everyone starts to focus on next year. And next year's shiny new toys look really, really fun. And so, yeah, that's, I guess, a natural transition to maybe talking about a big announcement tomorrow in terms of Arkansas basketball recruiting. But yeah, a tough one in Columbia. It would be nice to get some good news Thursday and have that going into Saturday's game, because it's going to be tough to go into Como and pick up a win.
So Connor does not have Ozarks Go. That's why he got a little glitchy there.
I did.
Just a little bit. You're a little fuzzy.
Damn, I was wired. I'm wired in too. I don't know what's going on.
Ozarks Go, my friend. Got to get it in your
we were fighting with Xfinity when the snow rolled in the other day, and I texted you. I said, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say Ozarks Go, and it's like, eventually I'll get there. We'll get hooked up when we get up there. But
so you look at the rest of this basketball schedule, or just upcoming here, and you're like, okay, Missouri, that's going to be tough. In Columbia, maybe they can pull it out. Oh, good. Georgia's on the schedule. Georgia's next. Georgia's 14-2, 2-1 in SEC play. Yeah, it's not like that. You can't just write that down as a win. So it's obviously
Oklahoma was just ranked 2, and
we're of course looking ahead because Kentucky's also 3-1 in SEC play. February 1st in Lexington, 8:00 on a Saturday. I mean, that's a big stage right there for Calipari. And man, the way this team is playing right now. If they're playing like they're playing right now when they go to Lexington, then he's going to be humiliated at Kentucky. So
the thing that's frustrating is like you can look ahead and you can say, well, I mean, Georgia is a winnable game. You get them in Bud Walton. Oklahoma's a winnable game. Kentucky, if Arkansas plays up, maybe they can catch Kentucky on a bad day. But LSU was missing 2 of their better players, two guys who were in double figure scoring. Jalen Reed's their best player. He's out with the torn ACL, and this LSU team, there's a lot of people in Baton Rouge that just are completely checked out on LSU basketball and are just hoping, for some little entertainment and to tide them over until spring football and baseball starts. And so you go into there, it's not a raucous environment by any means. And it's one of the worst LSU teams in the last decade or so. And you can't take care of business. You can't blame people for looking ahead and being like, well, I don't see any wins. If you can't beat a lowly LSU team like that, what makes you think that you can beat an Oklahoma, Georgia, hell, Kentucky? That team that showed up last night, especially in the second half, there's no hope that they can go in there and knock off Kentucky or up. There's really no hope that you can play like that and go and beat a Georgia team who's really sound this year, beat a Porter Moser-led Oklahoma team who's always going to be tough and a tough out. So yeah, you can't really blame people for kind of jumping the ship and being pessimistic right now, because I'm kind of right there for you. This team just, it's not that they've lost these 4 games. It's how they've lost. They start out hot and then they just completely implode and fall apart in the second half and don't really give you any hope that there's really good basketball in there to be played, because they look so bad. They can't make shots. They can't move the ball. They can't turn teams over at a high clip. And then even when they do turn teams over, they can't do much with it. They can't keep them off the offensive glass. It's this compounding thing that just makes people, it makes me just like very pessimistic that there's a good basketball team in there that we will see before the season's over.
I watched the game last night at a buddy's house. We have a bowling league, and so we went and bowled after. It's like 6 o'clock.
Pretty good bowler.
Yeah, I'm not very good, but I'm getting there. I did a lot of practice, and I got a sore forearm. Anyway, went over to my buddy's house. He's got this new 98-inch television, which I didn't even know. Like, I've got a 100-inch, but it's a projection deal, And it's, very complicated, to have all that stuff. It's a short throw laser projector, so it's not that bad as like the old ones. But I didn't know you can go out and just get for under $2,000, a 98-inch television. Do you know that? Like I thought
know
those
TVs were
like
cheap, a little bit cheaper than they had been, but I didn't know that.
Yeah. So he's got a 98-inch. Anyway, we went over there and watched it. A bunch of guys over there, and one guy was like just very. We were all, how we were, just like anybody else watching the game. But one guy was very pessimistic and was, calling Calipari, equivalent of Chad Morris to football, and was taking bets on whether or not Arkansas would ever make the NCAA tournament under Calipari. What are your thoughts on that? Is Arkansas just doomed? Was this because people were like, this was a terrible hire? We did Kentucky a favor, and just all the things that I was listening to. What are your thoughts on that? Is Calipari somebody that's going to get it straightened out? And then after you're done, I want to talk a little bit about future and of this roster.
I'll try to be brief, but I don't think that's something with Calipari where you can say, well, he's just never going to be able to do it, because with Calipari, you're always going to have really talented rosters. You're always going to get the 5-star recruits. You're always going to be in the mix for really high-level transfers. Now we see that he actually wants to fill out his roster with transfers, so that's good in this day and age. But it's all about getting the right people in there, and then Calipari needs to find some. He wants to have this more like NBA type offense to kind of showcase guys and get them ready for the next level. When the college game's a little bit different, and you need to have more of a college level system, and so he needs to find a little bit of that in a healthy blend, and he's going to have the talent that can do that at a high level. It's just about putting the pieces together. So I think that, it's one of those things where maybe this roster, I don't see a path forward where they can realistically realistically, you could say that they'll knock off a couple of teams, and they've got 10 of 14 games are quad one. So, they could in theory, go on a little run, get things turned around. But just from the last 4 games we've seen, I don't see this roster the way it is now being able to go on a run and make it to the NCAA tournament. But like I said, with Calipari, you're going to have talented rosters. You're going to have, high-level guys that are going to compete. You're going to play in marquee games. You're going to have opportunities. So to say that, Arkansas is never going to go to an NCAA tournament under Calipari, a little too early for that. It's not too early to say that you can't see this team, this iteration of this Calipari team, not going to the NCAA tournament. But you're always going to have talented rosters. You're always going to play in marquee games. That's really the formula to, getting some momentum, winning, putting together a solid tournament resume. So I think that you're going to have more opportunities in future years under Calipari. It's all got to come together. And this year it has not come together, and I don't see it coming together.
Yeah. Well, I think you're probably right on that. One of the best lines that I've seen on this situation on the Razor's Edge message board on HawgSports.com, I can't remember the name of the user, but he said, so John Tyson gets all the credit for hiring Calipari, but Hunter Yurachek gets all the blame. Thought that was a great line.
I saw the thread, and it's like, if you go back to that time, would anybody in any program other than maybe Kentucky at that time, everyone would have hired Calipari 10 out of 10 times, right? Like,
just look at the press conference, the announcement.
Yeah. So hindsight's always 20/20, and you can always go back and say, well, we should have maybe hired this guy or this, and it's like, yeah, you could do that with everything. Arkansas wouldn't have hired Chad Morris if they could go back and change it.
Well, I think, ultimately, I think Arkansas's got some hired mercenaries that aren't living up to what they were supposed to. Jonas Adu messed Arkansas up last year. But he hasn't been near he was a first-team All-SEC guy last year. He hadn't been near that. Nelly Davis has been terrible
for that game, and we saw him walking through the tunnel, and I was like, "That's a grown man."
Yeah.
And then he comes out and he does grown man things, and we just haven't seen that from him. And then,
you got Adu Thero like busting his butt. He's limited on some things, shooting the ball and stuff, but he busts his tail, and Boogie does. But you just got other, and I like Billy Richmond. There are guys I like and guys I think hustle, but there's other guys out there who I just don't think are giving it all. I don't think they're giving everything they got. I think they look like they don't care. And Nelly's
I see Carter Knox get confused on a switch one more time and just leave his man open for 3. That's frustrating to watch, to see these guys make the same mistakes over and over again. And it's like Billy
what
Richmond
encapsulates Nelly's season though, Connor? Like when he called timeout, which Cal was like, why did we call timeout? He calls timeout, and then he gets beat over the top out of the timeout for a dunk. Like that is everything that's happened in a nutshell. Hey, let's jump ahead, Connor, because the future of the program, the roster building of it looks really good. Mo Silla, who is the number 29 ranked prospect in the country, is deciding between Georgia Tech and Oregon and Arkansas tomorrow. That'll be on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel at 2:30 Central Time. He'll make his decision. I've been told things look really good for Arkansas. I've got a crystal ball pick in for Arkansas right now. 6'10", 240. This dude's 20 years old. He's a senior. He's from Senegal. He's 20 years old. Very physical. Kind of presence you need down low. What are your thoughts on him and his potential to land at Arkansas?
My thoughts are, can he come in right now and give us 10-15 off the bench? I mean, that'd be nice. He's that physical threat who plays above the rim. who is a just a lob threat from anywhere. He's really mobile for his size. There was a little bit when he came over because he's 20. He doesn't have that too much experience in the American game yet. You worry if it's going to be too fast. Well, this summer, I mean, there's a reason he skyrocketed up recruiting boards and why he got so much interest from blue blood programs really quickly. And that's because he showed that, that it's not that big of a learning curve for him to adjust. And I mean, he was super impressive. He blocks shot. He plays with a violence that this Arkansas team currently is missing, like at both ends. Like he just is very violent when he blocks shots. He plays with emotion. He plays with energy. He's really good at being that help side defender who can, just come out of nowhere and shut down a play and give you an extra possession. I think that he's going to keep adding muscle and keep getting bigger, and he's got insane athleticism. This is a really enticing pickup for Arkansas, even if it's more of like, he's going to take a little time to adjust and develop, because there is a rawness to his game. I don't want to come in and say he's the polished guy. Like, he's not going to come out and drill like 5 threes for you in a win over Kentucky or anything like that. No, that's not his game. Really good pick and roll defender, and really good as a roller going to the basket. I think if you put him and Boogie Flan on the court together, that would be magic. But luckily, you get Darius Acuff, who's probably the next best thing to replace Boogie Flan.
Yeah,
assuming Boogie's gone.
I think he's going to be better than Boogie.
I'm starting to think so too, because I watching Acuff, you see that he's
a distributor.
He's a distributor, and he plays with a little bit of confidence where he kind of can figure out the flow of the game and how to get.
Nothing against Boogie. I love Boogie, but this guy seems a little bit more true, pass first kind of point guard.
Yeah, and funny enough, like earlier in Acuff's like recruitment, like they were saying that he relied on his athleticism and jump shot or shot making more than like he was getting others involved. But that's where he really took that big step forward, I felt, this past year, and what really kind of solidified for me that this is a high level guy that Arkansas really needs to get. Is that he is becoming that more point guard first mentality, where it's like, okay, I know I can get my shots, but it may be more important for me to get others involved here going forward. And that's what I think where Fland is maybe missing a little bit, is where he doesn't know when to turn off the green light and start becoming a distributor, because Fland is one of those guys that can go out and give you 6-7 assists without turning the ball over. It's just he can also go out and throw up 13 shots in a row without any of them going. And, the flow of the game is completely messed up at that point. So I think that that's what I'm looking forward to most with Acuff, because I think he is more of that kind of fluid point guard first, table setter kind of guy. And, you pair him with a Mo Silla, you pair him with a high-level shot maker who can score from all 3 levels like Malik Thomas. That's a really exciting 3 freshmen to bring in that are all do different things really well. And then it's all about going from who do you have coming back from this roster, and then does Calipari stick with the 9, or does he go to 10? Does he go to maybe having 15 scholarship guys? Who knows what he's thinking? We've talked about it in the press conference with him. He maybe is rethinking that strategy.
It was not a good strategy.
No, it was definitely, and you could see
we haven't been able to scrimmage. Well, I wonder why. You get a guy hurt and you can't scrimmage.
Or if you go with 9 rotation guys, why don't you bring in some proven, or not proven guys, but guys that can maybe give you something in case of emergency? And that's where I was thinking, you add like a 5'9" walk-on guard, you add a bunch of guys who can't really play at this level, and it's just like, well, what happens if injuries? And
you're forced to play guys who are playing like ass because you don't have enough players.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. And it's like, you don't want to have a rotation of more than like 9 guys in over the course of a season. But if you got guys that are injured, you need bodies, and you need to be able to
play a rotation of 8 or 9, but they just be other players because you have a dozen scholarship players.
I mean, I was roasting Calipari on the baseline out of bounds plays, and I don't know if repping things out in scrimmage would make them much better, because they look just completely clueless on some of these sets that they run out of things. It's mind-boggling. But like, having guys in scrimmage that can't hurt, like being able to rep these things at full speed can't hurt you. I mean, and so it's just like I don't get just bringing guys there who are just bodies taking up space if they can't help you in practice and they can't give you good looks in practice. And so I think that going forward, we're going to see that. The exciting thing about, if Arkansas does land Mosilla, if they do, what happens next? They're involved with guys like Nate Ament, who's one of a 5-star involved with like Notre Dame, Tennessee, Duke. Arkansas has been in to see him a lot. Calipari has flown out to see him in practice. He's more of kind of that stretch 3, stretch 4, maybe not a traditional like back to basket big. He's got more of an offensive bag, but defensive end of the floor is maybe a little shaky. Do they still pursue that guy in the spring or in the springtime signing period? Do they still pursue that, or are they happy with their 3 freshmen? I think that's going to tell us a lot about how Calipari envisions building his roster next season.
Yeah. You don't want to see too many freshmen. Obviously,
No.
you got to have a mix of returning players, transfers, and freshmen. Right now, as far as the freshmen go, Darius Acuff is the number 5 ranked player in the country on 24/7 Sports, the number 1 point guard in the nation. Malik Thomas, 6'3", Acuff 6'2", 180. Thomas is 6'3", 181, number 11th ranked player in the country, number 1 shooting guard in the country. Isaiah Seeley out of Springdale, Arkansas, 6'7", 194, number 97 nationally, number 25 shooting guard nationally. And then I get Mosilla. What's Mosilla ranked right now? He's 29th on 24/7 Sports. Malik Thomas is number 8 on the composite ranking also. Silla, where is Silla? I think I clicked off his profile, but he is a 29 nationally.
Yeah, composite 4-star. I honestly expect him, maybe if there's some more rankings updates here and maybe later in the spring period, I could see him maybe being a low 5-star.
I think it's a 5-star on one other service. I think ESPN has him 49. Somebody's got him way off the map. Somebody doesn't have him ranked or something because his composite ranking is 108 nationally.
I want to say it may be on 3. It's
got to be. It's got to be on 3 because Rivals has him as a 5-star. And
yeah, then it's got to be on 3. I don't think that he was even added until like really late. That he was even added to their like class board or something like that. But I could see him being he's basically a 5-star talent and in disguise as a 4-star right now because of that. But really, really solid pick. Everyone, I would encourage you to tune in tomorrow for that live stream announcement.
2:30 ESPN 24/7 Sports YouTube channel at 2:30 Central Time. Mosilla will make his announcement between Arkansas, Oregon, and Georgia Tech. Connor, I think we've covered just about everything.
I think so. I'm sure I left out something that I wanted to get off my chest.
I'm sure we did. I mean, we can talk about Hunter Yurachek. Everybody's mad at Hunter right now.
Oh yeah.
Football team hasn't been as good as they had hoped, and basketball has been way worse. And Hunter catches all the blame for that. He is the athletic director. Baseball season's not too far around. We'll have plenty of baseball coverage. From Kevin Bohannon.
Poor Kevin. It's all on his shoulders, man.
It's all on you, Kevin. Pull us in. But
it's all up to him to carry the banner for us.
Dave had his press conference today, so we got a lot of content coming out from that. And Bohannon's knows a lot about baseball, so really excited to have him as an addition. Connor, we're in the college football playoff now on our dynasty. What are we in year 5 right now? Is this year 5?
I think so. It's 2029. I want to say
2029. Okay,
I believe
so. You and I are both in the playoff. We're in the second round now. You got the easy road because you had non-user.
I did.
So for
I don't know how.
Those who are still following along, we've got a 12-man dynasty with a custom SEC. I play with Arkansas. Connor plays with North Carolina. Just how the drawing went. But it's 12 people, all HawgSports members. We have a good time with it. It's a fun.
It's a lot of fun. The group chat, the smack talking, the just hearing everyone's strategies on roster building and stuff. It's just fun. And then obviously you get the game day experience when the Razorbacks are playing, and that's fun too. But yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't toot my own horn. Look dead in the water, Trey. You whipped me like bad.
What was the score of that game?
58-10, but I will say it was 24-10. I had the ball going in the score inside the 5-yard line. Quarterback fumbles. You take it back to the house. We just completely implode. We looked like Arkansas against Tennessee in the second half of basketball. We just didn't know what we were doing. Threw some picks, forced it, and next thing you know, you blink and it's 58-10, and you're just questioning every decision you've ever made. But we rallied around that, and we made it to the playoff. And now we've got a big game against Tulane, the computer Tulane. But yeah, we're hoping to make it to the semifinals and see what happens. We're playing with house money kind of right now, because I did not expect to be here.
Well, we had one of our users is one of the best players maybe in the country, but he was playing with Virginia Tech, and then he I guess got tired of it, and now he's rebuilding Kent State, and he's in year 2 with Kent State, and I just played him, and I beat him in the regular season, beat him again. So I advanced to the second round, and then I've got Oklahoma State, who has my number. Oklahoma State guys beat me like 4 times in a row. I think I beat him the first 3 times we played, and he's had my number, and I don't know. I'm very frustrated by it, but Oklahoma State guy, if anybody's got recommendations on how to beat, it's not just, I blame it on he runs a 3-4, cover 4 drop, show 2, almost every play, and I can't get around it, and it's just challenging you. It's like daring you to throw deep or something. It's like you get frustrated just dinking and dunking. But I blame it on that. But he really uses his middle linebacker extremely well. Like, he's got his players taken away deep and intermediate, and then he's using that linebacker to take away, anything underneath. And if you run a play more than 2 times, then he's got it figured out. He's very good. So
very sound. You cannot make any mistakes against.
Well, I had him. I was like doing everything I wanted to do. We played in the SEC championship game, which I lost to him, and I was doing everything I wanted to do, and all it took was one BS holding call against me to get me backed up, because you have to dink and dunk against him because he's taking away everything, deep and intermediate. So that's all it took. One little error, one unforced error. There's nothing I could do about it, and it cost me the game. Of course, I had to throw deep, and he picked it off. Ball game. So anyway, I've got him next. So.
Well, good luck. I really hope you can finally get over the hump there. And then it looks like we've got, if you win that game, I mean, you got the defending national champions, and then one of the Carolinas waiting for you in the championship.
I got to play Ole Miss, and then I've got to play either North Carolina or South Carolina. So
yeah, it's fun. Sometimes it's more fun.
I would have to play all users, four users. I'd have to beat 4 users to win it this year.
Yeah.
You would have to beat 2.
Yeah, 2.
Must be nice.
It is nice. I was fully expecting to have to go the road that you went, but hey, it's evened out. I feel like everyone's kind of had at least one easy road, and then maybe a couple years it's been more difficult. But
I don't know that I have. I've made it to 1 national championship game. I lost to the TCU guy.
The key is to not be the best, but be like that 3rd or 4th best team, and then just hope that the playoff committee has mercy on your soul. And
for whatever reason, whoever wins the SEC championship gets in the bracket with all users, and then like somebody who scrounges in just coasts right to the like South Carolina. I think last year did not play a single user until. Well, maybe I think they played first round, I think, or something. But then they just coasted all the way to the championship game where they lost to Ole Miss. But it's been fun. 2029.
It has been fun. We're getting into that. We got our first. You recruit through. There's no more real players. It's all guys that you brought in your first season. So that's fun. And then obviously it's a league where everyone does things a little bit different. So each game's a different experience. Like, you have to prepare to take something away from different guys. It's not like everyone's just running the same plays and same defenses, which everyone has their own little identity and how they do things, which is really fun. And it would be a lot more fun to live in that universe with Arkansas making consistent playoff berths and everything humming and on all 4 cylinders. Even though you haven't won a national championship yet, it would still be fun to live in that.
Well, so far, Arkansas, for those wondering, has made it to 4 straight college football playoffs out of the 5 seasons. The first year we went 9-4, I think. Won an SEC championship game in 2027. Won the SEC championship. And lost the SEC championship this year. I think that's the only ones I've been to. I might have been to one more, and then lost 1 national championship game. So that's where Arkansas has been. have had a number 1 ranked recruiting class in the country, have had a top 5 recruiting class 4 of the 5 years. And this year we're number 2. And this is the best class I've ever had. I've got 9 elite dev guys, 6 4-stars, but 5 of them were gems. And this is an amazing class that
For everyone upset with the state of the Arkansas program, I think Trey's making a very good case to, if there's a GM position or maybe a AD position way down the road. He's
That's right.
Putting, he's got a pretty good strong resume for that. If
for video,
really turn
football.
Things around, put it in Biddy's hands.
Yeah, yeah. We are. What are we? 11-2 this year. 11-3 or 11-3, I think, because I lost the SEC championship game. Yeah, but we've won at least 10 games every year except for the first year. So go Hogs.
Go Hogs. Go Heels. Well, the Cinderella story continues. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll be pulling for you against South Carolina. But I've got to find some answers for Oklahoma State. You can't make any mistakes against the guy. He's good.
Well, I'm guessing y'all are playing that later this afternoon.
Yeah. Well, we had a desync, in our SEC championship game. Also,
Mm-hmm.
This is just an extra kick in the seat. So we had a desync. So we're playing. It's a close game, but I'm going to lose. There's a minute 27 left. So and it desyncs us, and so we just had to force win him, and of course he won 38-7 in the force win. Like just the computer simulator.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, my running back, who I'm chasing Darren McFadden's record. I've got 1,600 rushing yards with this guy. I'm chasing his school record, and he ends up having 22 rushing yards after I'd had probably right around 100 or so. So,
you gotta love the logic.
Frustrating.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
Good luck. I'm pulling for you.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be fun to see a all staff national championship game. But
yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. If we played each other, we'd probably have to stream that one.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone in the comments is looking forward to that one. Got their calendars marked.
Hey, we've got the most people that have been listening to the show right now is 1,500 people. People are tuning in for our college football.
That's what I'm talking about.
Discussion. I should do a breakdown on some of my favorite plays. So, when I had a bye week and we had a bit of a gap, I went through and I probably added about 12 new plays to my arsenal and finally created a custom playbook instead of just using Arkansas.
That's what I've had to do too. I just some of the stock ones, just you can't really find a lot of stuff that you like, but there's you kind of pick and pull from different playbooks, and it's fun works a lot better, I think.
I can't create a defensive playbook. It screws everything up.
Yeah, I haven't really messed with that too much because I've found one that if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. I run out of the 4-2-5, but I tried to create a custom one and create a 3-4 to kind of try to mimic some of the stuff. And so I tried to run that against Kent State. And he just marched down the field on me, just like right out of the gate. I was like, Jesus. Well,
yeah.
So anyway, all right, Connor.
I think we covered it all, and we gave a shout out to the dynasty. We look forward to that.
HawgSports, EA Sports 2020.
I'm gonna go rewatch the second half of last night's game and put myself through that torture and maybe find a silver lining or two. Who knows?
Take a belt with you and be sure to hit yourself with it while you're watching.
That's
punishment.
That would be more pleasant than what I'm about to do. Just sitting there watching it.
Yeah. All right, Connor. Appreciate you, man.
All right.
All right, everybody. That's Connor Goodson. Connor does a great job covering Razorback basketball. Does everything. I mean, covers football too. So if you want to read more of Connor's stuff, go to HawgSports or follow him on X at Connor Goodson. CONNOR Goodson. All right. Feel like we've covered it. We've gone over an hour, so we don't have time for questions. But talked a lot about the future of Arkansas football program, basketball program, what's to come, a little bit of recruiting stuff. I know everybody's frustrated out there. I'm frustrated too. It just kind of sucks because, people have, pro sports teams that they're fans of and stuff like that. I know a lot of Dallas Cowboys fans here, and Kansas City Chiefs fans, and St. Louis Cardinals fans, Kansas City Royal fans, kind of all in this area. But, Connor, for example, is a big San Antonio Spurs fan. But really nothing like, hits you in the heart, to me at least, like Razorbacks. And to have them just like piddling and, just feeling like barely getting by in football, like are they invested into like truly having success with the football program in an era where you can have a different level of success because of the transfer portal, because of NIL, because of revenue sharing. Is Arkansas doing the right things? Do they have the right coach? Do they have the right administration? Do they have the right what's the word I'm looking for? Mojo. Do they have the right philosophy, plan for the future? Because this whole state it's Razorbacks. And the basketball team didn't make the NCAA tournament last year. There was a ton of hype around basketball this year, and they've just kind of sucked. I mean, let's be frank, like 0-4. Are they going to get it turned around? A lot of people don't feel like they are. Now, we have seen like Musselman teams, they've had years where they, didn't set the world on fire and turned it around, played pretty well, made Elite Eight, made a Sweet 16, made 2 Elite Eights, actually. So you hate to ever close the door, and sometimes it feels like when you do close that door and say, I'm done, they'll suck you right back in, right? Has the football team done enough in the transfer portal to make the roster better than it was last year? I don't know that they have. I don't know that I see like this splash hire or this splash, they're all hires, but this splash big time star. Like where's an Xavier Sori in this class? Where's a Jaquinton Jackson? Those guys were like proven SEC players. You just don't see that as much in this class. So I wonder, do they have the roster that they need to not just go to a bowl game again? I'm sure they've got enough to go 6-6. But they have the roster to go, 8-4, to challenge, to maybe get us to where we're talking about the college football playoff. Wouldn't that be nice? Like you could make a college football playoff maybe at a 9-3. Maybe. I mean, I've said this before. I don't think it's too much for Arkansas fans to ask when it comes to Razorback football to win 8 games. I just don't. Like, why is asking for them to go 500 in the SEC, beat half the teams that they play, and lose to half the teams they play? Why is that too much to ask? To go 3-1 or 4-0 in the non-conference, or to go 1-0 or 0-1 in the bowl game? Some kind of combination of that, to where 7 wins is the floor, and where you expect 8. I don't know. Why is that crazy? Why is that asking too much? If we're sitting here talking about 8 wins to a program like Alabama or even Auburn, they're talking about firing their coach. We're just talking about getting 8 wins. Like, I don't know. I just don't feel like that's too much to ask. And we can talk about what the history of Arkansas sports is, and that they've averaged 6 wins. I'm not interested in winning 6 games. I'm not interested in a 6-game win as like being, okay, well, that was good. A good season. I just think it's crap. Like if that's what we're hoping for, if that's all that we can do, like what are we doing? Like just paying a bunch of money to go watch Razorback games, spending a bunch of time, investing our energy, our emotion, our health. It affects your health. Just to watch them, lose half the games and expect better, but never get better. All right, that's it. Thanks to Connor Goodson, Danny West for hopping on. Appreciate all of you guys for joining us. Listen to our college football talk. Who does not like to listen to college football talk is my wife. She could not be more bugged or annoyed that I play that game. But it's fun. I love football. You get to create your own playbooks, learn more about other teams through their players and stuff. I don't know. It's a fun game. We have a good time with it, and all of our wives hate it, those of us who are married in the league. Anyway, all right, appreciate all you guys for hopping on. I don't know. I kind of feel like Wednesday's a good show day for this time of year, so we might aim for Wednesdays during this time of year until we go back to 2 shows a week. All right, everybody. And let me know what you think about Connor Goodson also. I thought Connor had a really good show today. We might consider doing a little spinoff with Connor now that he's settled in. He's been with us for a year now, so we might consider doing that. All right, everybody. Thanks to everybody who joined us today. It's been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.